Jagex has recently announced that they will be shutting down the Runescape official forums, or the RSOF as we used to call them, due to a lack of interest and usage. Nowadays, players are mainly discussing the game on Twitter and Reddit and Discord, but we didn't used to have that luxury. In my original Runescape career, we relied on the RSOF and other fan forums for information and socializing and feedback for the game developers. Today, I thought we'd look at a few fun gems from the old days of the RSOF before it's gone forever. Okay, so the blowpipe is what I wanted to talk about first. A lot of people might not know that the RSOF used to be the only place that Jagex released their dev blogs. So they would kind of say that they'd release something on the main page and then they'd link to the forums, and that's the only place you could read it because they didn't have the ability to make these big posts on the main page, I guess. So the Zora dev blog came out. This is about 2015, and yeah, it was not very complicated. Nowadays we have not just stats for every new weapon, we have DPS calcs, we have comparisons to existing weapons. But for the blowpipe, they just said it's level 75, two-handed, uses darts, and applies venom. The plus 40 range strength, plus 60 range attack. And here's the kicker, it's equal to a short bow on rapid, attack speed of 3. Okay, so we all know nowadays the blowpipe is at an attack speed of 2 on rapid. It's not equal to a short bow, it's equal to darts. But this wording was a little ambiguous, and that's where the problem came. So we quickly saw that when it was released, Mod Ash was telling people, oh yes, so the attack speed of 3 equal to a short bow on rapid means it's normally 3. So normally 3 or 2 if it's on rapid itself. So it released at 2 tick speed when it was pulled pretty clearly to my mind at 3 tick speed. Further down, people were talking with each other and saying, okay, so we thought it was 3 tick, and the feedback before it came out was 3 tick isn't that good because MSB is cheaper and it hits about the same. And in fact, there was a post that this guy Havoc found for Mod John C, who was testing the blowpipe, and someone said, I don't think this is that good at 3 tick. And Mod John C said, it is of course subject to balancing. I've gone with an initial attack speed of 3 compared to darts at 2, just so it's not too powerful. And then he goes on to talk a little bit about the max hit. And he says, once we find out that it may not be that great, we can adjust it and tweak it later. So he thought it was going to be 3 while he was testing it. Mod Ash thought it was going to be 2. The players thought it was going to be 3. It was released at 2. And then they're just like, yeah, whatever. Let's just leave it at 2. You have a bunch of people in this thread further down being like, okay, so now we need 75% chance to vote to nerf it. So is it going to be nerfed or not? And then other people are saying, don't nerf it. It's really cool. I like it. And notable at this point is it was still usable in PvP at 2 tick. So the full blowpipe stats. And of course, I forgot to even mention by this point, we've nerfed the blowpipe. So back in those days, the blowpipe was even stronger. So it was full strength, 2 tick, available in PvP, and the other PvP weapons at that time for range were like a rune crossbow. So yeah, it was 100% better. Mod Ash says things like, yeah, we think hybriding could still be effective. It's not a big deal. Still, if people just use range attacks, it's fine. They talk about death mechanics a little bit. There's all sorts of stuff going on at this time. People were really shocked about Venom being really strong and the blowpipe being really strong. And this guy says, goodbye PvP. This is worth dead and divine. Pretty good. Eventually, the next week or 2 weeks later, I remember they nerfed blowpipe in PvP only. So they changed it to 3 tick and they said, that's fine. It can still be 2 tick for PVM. And the rest is history, basically. Just a fun little mishap, I guess, to change the course of RuneScape history as we know it. But that's old school, and we all know that the real juice of the RSOF comes from actual 2007. Using the Wayback Machine, I found a snapshot of the Suggestions forum, which was my favorite forum in the forums from actual 2007. So this is June 29th, 2007. And we got a lot going on here. There's some stickies, meaning just like a mega thread. This one's for suggesting a skill. You can see it has 11,000 posts. So, very normal amount of posts for people to talk about skills. New weapons and armor, 12,000 posts. Suggest a monster, 4,000 posts. And yeah, we got some cool stuff here. We got shark fishers. We got a new 99 magic spell. We got hairstyles, 300 posts about hairstyles. Very good. 500 posts about belts. There's a lot of common stuff that kept coming up. Everyone loved to talk about sailing. Everyone loved to talk about belts. Everyone loved to talk about new monsters and weapons. For some reason, I found that a lot of people were talking about whips because the whip was like super popular. They're like, oh, we should have other whips. I don't want just the Abyssal Whip. I want a metal whip. I want a dragon whip. I want a rune whip. So I don't know why that was such a fixation, but definitely cool. What else do we got? This one says improve fire making. Improve fire making 5. Right. So for those who haven't used the forum, there was an aspect where if your thread hit, I don't remember exactly how many pages. I think it was like a certain amount of posts, or it went off page 50. So you can see here it says page 1 of 50. If your thread fell off the bottom of page 50, it was deleted. It's just gone. It's dead. And so when your thread goes past page 50, you have to make a new version. Or if you max out the number of responses, because there was a certain number where it was like, oh, your thread is too big, you can't post anymore. And that's just, classic, like old, there's no data left to do this. But so people would make versions of their thread. They'd be like, okay, it's time for version 4, it's time for version 5, and they'd update it. This guy, this is version 5 of Improve Fire Making the thread. It's got 127 pages of discussion on this version. This guy's big into fire making. He says, I own a clan chat for training fire making. This thread has over 1,000 posts, 4 mod posts, 40 supporters, 625 for also supporters. 40 supporters who are level 99 fire making. Yeah, level 99s give you clout. Back in those days, it was like, oh, I'm level 99. My opinion matters more. So we got all sorts of stuff here. This he says, let's have the enchanted tinderbox. You could use it in combat. You can make a firewall that can be used as a safe spot for 30 seconds. By level 98, he said, let's create a fire effect around you so you can do whatever you want and no one can touch you for 1 minute. So just 1 minute of pure immunity from all attacks, just from getting 99 fire making. That's, kind of balanced. Not really. It's like you could only do that 4 times and then you've tanked a full TB and all you need is a tinderbox. Kind of interesting. I guess you need a lot of logs, but seems pretty broken. Level 94 creates a copy of you to help you fight. So basically the League's thrall, and it lasts 1 minute. These guys, like, there was no rules. There was no rules on the suggestions forum. You could suggest whatever you want, and all that would happen is some guy being like, this is dumb, or there's some guy being like, this is cool. There's all sorts of details here, and, then at some point you just get to posts which are like, just like lists of supporters. And, 127 pages of discussion here. It's probably people just typing support and then posting. And then someone else being like, support, but it would be better if this. Blank. So, we had nothing better to do. You just, once you're playing the game, you're like, damn, fire making kind of sucks. Let's go on the forums and talk about how fire making sucks. And this was happening over and over. I have a picture, we talked about this suggest a skill. It's at 11,000. 1 year later, I'll show a picture. 1 year later, the suggest a skill thread is at 29,000 posts. So we have to think these posts aren't going anywhere. There's no JMod who is on the forums reading, 18,000 posts a year going like, well, 12,000 posts said sailing was good, but 6,000 said summoning was good. So they still like summoning. Like it was just random. It was just totally nonsense. Later on, we have the future updates page. This is another favorite of mine. The future updates page. This one's from 9th of November 2008. So just a little later, about a year and a half later. Future updates page is where the conspiracy theorist crackpot people went. And they would tell you why with 100% certainty that everything points to cabbage. So evidence points to cabbage. Here's a thread. 38 pages. And it's about how, with all of the hints that they've dropped, let's see how many we got. We got like 25 hints here, 25 points, just in this one post. That cabbage is coming to do something. There is an enormous stack of evidence that is pointing to one thing: cabbage. I have trekked through the entirety of RuneScape and will now share this knowledge with you. These are the kind of people who think that powerful millionaires drink the blood of babies. But back in the day, they had more benign or harmless ideas, such as Melzar the Man talks about the cabbage of jazz. Other sources talk about a stone, but clearly it's a cabbage. Yeah. Cabbage was a big theme. Yeah. I think this guy was just having a great time. He's not that serious, I think. Perhaps there was the cabbage teleport with the lumber's ring. He says perhaps a new cabbage spellbook complete with cabbage staff. This guy's just having a great time. He's just really honing in on all the cabbage stuff. So yes, while this is in the future updates discussion, this isn't a very serious post. And that was most of the posts in here. We got another post here that says belt slot coming soon 2008. This has all the vibes of someone who says my dad works at Jagex, so I know the evidence. Says this is not a suggestion. Anyone saying it will be considered spam, which means something, surely. We have gloves, boots, and even ring slots. I have evidence that may prove that there is a belt slot coming soon. I can post pictures on the forum, so I will just tell you where to find it. Oh, I can't post pictures on the forums. Right. So he's just telling you where to look on the website. Click 10th of December, RuneScape versus real world trading. Good joke. Takes a look at mysterious concept art NPC at the end. He seems to have a belt. Oh my gosh. Yo, this guy's crazy. With the new graphics, d'hide bodies are shorter. This reveals a space that could be the space where the belts might fill in. Yo, this is crazy. Other people are helping out. He says Guthin wears a belt at one point. In the Castle Wars wallpaper, someone wears a belt at one point. This is crazy. And then, will we have belts? Something like Sapphire Onyx belts. Post any thoughts, ideas you might have. 100th post by this guy. 200th post by this guy. 300th post by this guy. 1100th post by this guy. Yeah, I don't know. Examples. Note, all belts are tradable. I know that belts are made of leather, but look at the recipe for disaster gloves. So please don't post that you think they will be metal. All right? I mean, people love to just say, like, don't post this. Do post this. Like, only post this. Like, it will be spam if you post this. So I'm not really sure why people were so, you get a lot of posts. Your thing will be looked at, probably. But this guy was really convinced belts are coming 2008. And, yeah, he was wrong. So, too bad, Munster Lion. Better luck next time, man. I hope you get some right predictions. Last up, I want to feature some stuff on the Tippet forums. So I don't know if you guys know about Tippet forums, but Tippet was, the Rune Tips, as I guess it was officially called, but everyone called it Tippet, right? It was a fan site. This is like before there was the subreddit, before there was the wiki. You just went on fan sites because it was like better forums than the official forums, and there were clans involved and that sort of thing. But the best things that fan sites had were their guides, and they had official guides on the page, like skill guides and that sort of thing. But in the forums was where the real juice was. This Master Slayer guide by Axeman Jack. So this, for me, as like a noob in 2010-11, this was the Bible. This was like everything. And these guys went into a ton of detail. Requirements, worlds, smoking kills, dungeons, fairy rings, player own house, cannon, black mask, god sword, all these different items, all these different. He has a full section for the combat bracelet. Like, I don't know what bro is doing with the combat bracelet, but like he's cooking up something. There's something here. Lunar, summoning, strongholds of security, all these different locations, mini games, best monsters, block list, as well as getting to know me. And yeah, he really goes in. You know, he's got all the different quests that you should be doing, the prayers that you should do, the locations you're going to, the skills you're going to need. It's saying, you know, you want to clear an uncrowded training area. You should have a relatively enjoyable experience no matter what world you choose. This sounds great. But to be an efficient slayer, you need to train on a full world, because the fuller the world, the faster the monster respawn. Bro. So this is actually real. For those who don't remember, this was real. The respawn time of monsters and also ground items was tied to how full the world is. So yeah, it could be, he's saying it could be 20 seconds or longer on an empty world. And yeah, that really did matter when there's only a few spawns. Nowadays, we're pretty spoiled. Like, if we go to Catacombs and you see, like, there's, like, 8 Necreals in a room, that was not usually the case. It was usually more like 2 or 3 spawns per room. So it actually did matter quite a lot. So your ideal world for Slayer, World 2. Okay, so he cooked a little. He went a little close to the sun. I don't think World 2 is really, the best, because he didn't know about world lag. But that's okay. It was, it was way back then. We even got some pictures still around. Photo Bucket used to be the place, but definitely not so much anymore. But Smoking Kills was a quest you had to do to get the Slayer helm, because you didn't used to get the Slayer helm for free. What else we got? Kurdel's Dungeon. This is like the OG version of Neve's Dungeon, where they just had all sorts of monsters in there. Still live in RS3, you can still use it. And they got the Ferocious Ring as part of that. It's like a whole thing. You could put stuff in your player-owned house. I don't know what this really had to do with Slayer, as none of these were Slayer things. What does it say? Teleporting, restoring prayer, recharging summoning points. All right, I mean, we still do that today. Cannon, it's a very useful tool. I will note if it's a cannonable monster. You must decide for yourself if the time save is worth the investment. Nice. I like that. People definitely say nowadays, like, you have to use this, you have to use that. But these guides definitely basically just said, hey, I'm level 99 and I used it, so you can choose and let people choose. And of course, most of us just followed what was in the guide, because, like, we want to be good. Yeah, these are all the gear, summoning, Chaos Tunnels, if you remember, was like a huge place. This guide was the best. It was really just so good. And any time I was like, I don't know what to do with this monster, I'll go here and I'll scroll all the way down to like elves. And he's like, kill it here. You get these charms, gold, green, crimson, blue. Like, it's sick. Like, he's showing you everything. He's showing you every single thing you would need to know for Slayer. I don't even know if our current skilling Discord guides for Slayer like match up to this. I'm sure they do on some level in terms of like having a picture and telling you whether it's good or not. But do they have like a full description of the task and like what it's like and the best gear to do it? Like, not usually. So this guide was great. Similarly, I'll shout out this guide. This is a summoning guide, Kent's Guide to Summoning Mastery. This was the same sort of thing. You know, they have all sorts of information on what to make, what to use, where to go, how to get charms, what's cheap. And of course, you know, calculations on how much it's going to cost from each level, which is not even very, like, you know, the prices change every day. But this guy was like updating it. He was like, oh, I'm editing it, I'm updating it, this is how much it costs, you know. This is estimate 250 mil basically for 99 summoning at the time. So it's got a lot better, I'm sure. But at each level, he shows you which charms to use and like which pouches to make, and you have a bunch of options. Like, these guys were great. And sometimes I do miss that era of forums where, you know, it was less about like the next best thing. you're not posting something every day, unless it's, in a chat thread or in a loot, share your loot pics kind of thread. But it was more about, I'm going to make something and everyone's going to come to it now and then. And everyone's going to know that that's my thread. And yeah, forums are still around in some places, depending on your community. You might be using forums a lot still. But of course, nowadays, a lot of stuff has definitely migrated to Discord and that sort of thing. So, yeah, RIP the RuneScape official forums, and I guess the Tippet forums as well. They're not going down, but they're already dead. So RIP to those forums. I had a great time being on them as a kid and learning more about the game in a focused way and just shooting the shit with the other people, sharing my suggestions, sharing my predictions, following crackpot theories about the Stone of Jas and how there's going to be a new belt slot and a cabbage and all sorts of stuff. So feel free to check out the forums. They're up for another 2 months, I think, before they disappear forever. And yeah, this has been the Duck Chris. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy these kind of discussion videos, feel free to leave a like. I have other videos like this, trolling random information and figuring out what's going on and reading old stuff, and it's always a good time. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, peace.